Yeah, I know.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Starting at the 3:30s mark.
Okay.
Hello. Welcome back. I'm still in the singing phase, I guess, with these intros. This kind of means we have to make an intro song at
We
this
need
point.
an intro song and we need some sort of backdrop.
Yes, we're working on it, guys. Like we said, a work in progress, but it's baby steps. You're here. We're
baby
here. Welcome back to Me, My Mom, and My Pod. We have a lot to talk about today. We kind of make it a little bit quick because we are doing our first fantasy draft this year.
And I have no idea what I'm doing.
So it's going to be, again, baby steps.
Yeah.
With this process, but it'll be fun. I've done it before, and I've kind of been telling the people that we are in the draft with, because I'm pretty much the only one who has done a draft. That's a very easy process, and it's a walk in the park, and the app pretty much just talks you through it or walks you through it. Well, if you guys are ever encouraged to do it yourself, hit me up and I can gladly be your liaison and guide you through this process.
Oh, a new side gig.
Another side gig. Why not?
So
it's tough in these streets.
Oh, that air feels good now. My goal with this season of this fantasy draft is to learn how to do it, because I have no clue, and then hoping that next year when we actually do it, I'll actually have a strategy, and I'll know this year's just about the machinations and the how you do it.
Yes. So that's what we got going on in the near future. But for right now, we got some Padres news, and we got some major Padres news that we got right when I woke up this lovely morning.
Like, not super exciting, but very pleasant Padre news.
I think it's exciting news. I mean, not in terms of players, but
no.
We got our boy Peavy back as an assistant to the CEO. And then tell me, you kind of gave us a quick spiel on your thoughts on it, but give us a little more.
I was like, oh, that's nice. And that was my response. Oh, that's nice. I didn't even read the article. Is he going to be the assistant to, like, Eric Grubner? Mm-hmm. Oh, he is. Well, that's good, because I think Eric Grubner could use a little more baseball acumen, I guess you could say. He's, he does his jobs as far as, he does his job as far as being a financial guy and seeing the big picture and not just about the Potter's bottom line. And that's kind of his job. That is his job.
Yep.
So I'll give him a shout out for doing a great job with the concerts and things like that. I know some people kind of mock the Padres with that stuff, but we're making money from that. I've gone to concerts at the ballpark that I've enjoyed. So I shout out to Grubner for that.
He did say in the article too that he's going to be kind of like a spokesperson as well.
Jake Peavy?
Yes.
That's nice. One thing I thought about too is Jake's played for other teams, and I always wondered, like, is San Diego still, the Padres still his home, quote unquote, home team? And I remember we went to the game, and it was actually, I believe, Peter Seidler's last public appearance. And it's when they put Jake Peavy into the Padres Hall of Fame, and Jake Peavy cried. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's just moving. And you grew up watching him, right? And he was a great guy. He was like our last homegrown, truly homegrown superstar. Mm-hmm. And Dad and I would still say, well, the boys, because every time Jake Peavy would interview, he'd be like, well, me and the boys are, da da da. So yeah, it was just a little. Nothing like earth changing or but still it was.
I think it's an amazing move and a PR standpoint.
For sure.
Right? I think, we're looking for big news right before the season starts.
Well, obviously, I don't think that's it.
Hold on. Obviously, we want it to be focused on the players, right? But at least it's something, and like what you were saying, I grew up like with Jake Peavy kind of as like my start to Padres fandom, right? When we first moved to Petco Park, those are kind of like my first memories with him, Gonzalez, Green.
Correct, yeah.
All those people. And so I've always, idolized him, and then he's been on the MLB Network. He's been an analysis for the MLB Network for the past couple of years, and I've always followed him. He's always talked so fondly of the Padres whenever he does talk about them. What I find super fascinating about this is I've always kind of been drawn into this, like, new like national popularity that the Padres have been kind of getting in these past couple of years.
The national attention.
Yes, like they've becoming a lot more a well-known home name team, whatever it's called.
We have a more clearer identity, I think.
Yes.
I mean, if you're a newer Padre fan, challenge me if you think this isn't accurate, but I think looking at baseball now, I think the Padres were viewed very similarly to like the Royals, as the Royals are.
I'm not talking about as
Pirates?
a team. I'm not talking about as a team. I'm talking like as like the players and how successful we are.
You're not talking about the franchise.
I'm talking about the popularity of the team. How many fans we have out there in the United States that aren't just in San Diego.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, like, we were as a person living in San Diego.
Oh, I thought you were talking about now.
No. I'm talking about watching the Padres growing up, and I was saying if you're a newer fan, this is different. Then it's the vibe right now. Of course, social media wasn't big back then either, but that makes a huge difference. But the vibe back us growing up through the Padres with the Padre organization was, think about maybe the Cincinnati. We were definitely with like the Reds, like I said, the Royals and the Padres were like comparable.
Sure.
Now it's more like the Padres and the Mariners are a little more comparable, or the Padres and
I say we're like top 5. I'm sorry. I think
Really?
we're closer. Yeah, I think we're closer to like
Houston.
It's Houston. I don't want to go. I'm trying to think of a team that's not as historical, right? Because obviously,
that's part of the problem.
obviously
That's why I said the Mariners, because they've always had superstars and they've always had a unique kind of brand.
Yeah, but they haven't. They haven't played in any
anything,
but they also haven't played in any like
True.
What's it called? Like they've never played in the Mexico series or the Seoul series or the Japan series. Like the
So
MLB,
you're talking even globally.
Yeah, well, the MLB hasn't, given them that platform. We're starting to see that with the Padres, which is what I find super fascinating. JPV is going to continue to be an MLB analyst while he's doing our CEO assistant job. So I feel like it's just going to get more name recognition to newer fans out there. And I really appreciate that, especially when we don't have a TV deal. We're trying to get as much money as we can.
True. I don't know what Peavy's background is as far as global marketing and stuff like that.
No, but he's on the TV screen for
he's
every
a familiar face
for every MLB fan. Yes, correct.
True, he's a familiar face,
and people are going to see. People are going to know Jake Peavy as an analyst, and they're going to like him, and they're going to see that he's with the Padres, and that they're going to naturally be drawn to becoming.
To me, like I said,
Padres fan.
he is undoubtedly tied to the Padres now.
Yes.
In the past, I think there was a little bit of ambivalence there because he's been with other organizations. Obviously, he was with us the most, but now he is Padre for life, yay, kind of guy.
So I really like him.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
And I love when anyone's excited to be somewhere.
Oh, can we talk about something really quick?
Sure.
Before so, I don't know if this is even a deal to you at all, but talking about PR thing, we're talking about the Mariners, another PR thing that came through this week, I don't even know if you saw it. They made the Vetter Cup an official thing. Do you know what the Vetter Cup
Mom,
is?
yes, we talked about this in spring training.
Did we talk about it on our last podcast?
No, not on the podcast.
Okay, so as a Pearl Jam fan and an Eddie Vedder fan, Eddie Vedder's like, my guy. Well, there's something about him, and I've seen them in concert several times, but their 95 concert, touring for Vitology, was just the best concert I've been to a lot of concerts, and that's the best concert I've ever been to in my life. The Ramones opened. I was on the floor. It was like 25 or something like that. 27, I don't know, whatever. And that's when I just fell in love with Eddie Vedder forever. He was just something else. Beautiful, wavy hair, whatever. I digress. So now it's cute because he and his family have actually signed off on this friendly series that we have with the Mariners. It's for the entirety of the season too. It's a fundraiser for his wife is very involved in I think Skull or Dama or some chronic illness that they do fundraising for. And the irony is, I think I told you this, that Eddie Vedder's actually a huge Cubs fan. So he grew up in San Diego, but he spent some formative years in Chicago living with his mom, I think. He grew up in La Mesa, moved to Chicago, moved back to San Diego, and settled in like Encinitas or that area. I think he graduated from San Diego High School. So his music roots started in San Diego. He was in a couple bands here, local bands, and he was in the music scene here. And then he was kind of answered an audition. Oh, he was recommended to the guys that were performing Pearl Jam. What? This
It's hurting an Eddie Vedder.
Oh,
come on,
sorry.
just.
I'm passionate about the Padres and music, so bear with me.
I thought it was amazing. Yeah,
crossroads of my two passions. So anyway, long story short, I think it's
well,
cool.
why don't you say what it is?
Oh, it's just. I don't even remember. It's just, so the Padres play, our two series versus the Mariners here and there is going to be the Vedder Cup, and whoever finishes with the best record wins the Vedder Cup.
I think that's absolutely hilarious. I think we should have more silly things like this in baseball.
I agree with you 1,000%. And that was one of the things, even if I wasn't like a Pearl Jam fan or whatever, I still would have thought this was so funny. And it's so funny because he's not even a fan of either teams, but we both claim him because he came to fame in Seattle, but he grew up in San Diego.
And if he's down for it, then
he's officially down for it. Yeah. So I've said I can't wait to get a T-shirt. And then I think, did you see the picture at when we were there? I think we were there at they played the Mariners on Saturday. We were at that game, and Ichiro and Trevor were both there holding the Vedder Cup T-shirts for the respective teams when they announced it. So anyway,
anything
fun,
anything that can make more campy, I am here for. And then speaking of camp, and you kind of touched on it, we just came back from spring training camp this past weekend, and it's just heaven on earth. It really is. Tell us your side. I know we spent time with your lovely friend, Sarah. We love you. Thank you so much for keeping us in our house every time. You have those beautiful cats and dogs and family, and you are the best tour guide.
You're a great tour guide, Sarah. Oh my gosh.
Tell us.
It's hard for me because the trip is very much about spending time with my dear friend that we've been friends with since we were toddlers, basically. So there's a lot of enjoyment in that for me, and she did take us to some most amazing places in Phoenix. Really fun. Can't wait to do it again. So we went Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday night was the coldest game for sure I've ever been to in Arizona. Mm-hmm. And it's up there for games in San Diego, too. Baseball games. Not football, but baseball.
We had the double layer of paint.
It was
it
was freezing. So
and then it rained on us.
It was in the 40s, I think like low 40s. And then it rained pretty heavily in Arizona. So we stayed for most of it. I think we left
at the 7th.
Yeah, well, keep in mind it was a game that was over 3 hours, too. So we stayed at least an inning into when they put in all the reserves. So we stayed quite a bit. We won that game. And then we won Saturday, I believe. And then we lost Sunday. So we went 2 for 1. And I can say that I felt I came out feeling more confident about our hitting. Part of that was because of Sheets, for sure. He had a really nice weekend. A little less confident about our pitching. But I still think it's going to be okay. I mean, we could segue into our pitching issues currently. But I came away feeling more confident about the series. And then I think that's part of what spring training is about. It's kind of a prolonged fan fest. Obviously, it's important for the teams. I mean, they have to get ready. But as far as the fan side goes and how they kind of market and present it, it's also kind of to get us hyped up, So again, if you have a friend there that lives there and you have a place to stay, it's a very reasonable.
It's a no-brainer.
The drive is like, I don't mind the drive whatsoever. We got home there's no traffic. I mean, knock on wood, but every time we've gone, I mean, it's a 5-hour drive, no traffic. It's not like when you drive home from Vegas and it's awful because you never know what you're going to do. But this is like free. 80 miles an hour the whole way,
Spring training is like the How do I describe it? It's like the book club that that keeps on going because right there are so many. For me, for example, I get embarrassed like overhearing people's conversations and wanting to chime in just because.
Oh, you mean a game?
Because yeah, like in regular
Yes.
season games, because that's just naturally who I am, and especially if it's a topic I'm like passionate about, or especially I know a lot about, I feel so inclined. I am Dan Ellis's granddaughter at the end of the day,
or Karen's
or
niece.
Karen's niece.
Yes.
I get a little bit embarrassed doing that sometimes because obviously people you know get a little taken back and they'll be a little bit dumbfounded about what just came out of my mouth, and then you realize like, oh, you actually don't know what you're talking about.
Correct. Yeah.
In spring training,
How many times has that happened?
I got into a fight with a guy about it.
I know.
In spring training, not the case.
No.
Not the case at all. I feel it's such a welcoming environment, right? You know, like if someone is having a conversation behind you, you're more than welcome to join in, and it's not just going to be a monologue, right? It's going to be
Right.
it's going to be a conversation, a dialogue. You're going to be talking about the topic, and you're going to be talking to people who know what they're saying, which is a breath of fresh air in a lot of fandoms.
I think it was cute. I think it was Sunday's game where we had that family sitting behind us. We had a family of maybe 5 kids.
4 or 5, yeah.
Mom and dad, and they had twins that were freaking precious. I want to say they were 2.5 maybe. They needed to not be there though. They were very not having a good time. But fortunately, the parents left. They left very quickly. But dad's like, "Yeah, this is too hot for the kids to be here," and it really was. It was hot. It was hot. As cold as it was on Friday. It was hot on Sunday, and we were in the beating sun. So anyway, but their kids, their older kids, I think it was either a girl and a boy or 2 boys.
There
and
were
a
2
girl.
boys, yeah.
2 boys.
Probably about 7
They
or
were
8.
young and they knew so much, and it was awesome. It was like they knew all the players. They knew, like, I was
pitches.
yeah, I was very I was admiring them for how much they knew, and they left pretty quickly. And then a Diamondbacks family kind of took a son. Well, a family, it was that father and again his son. He was probably 7 or 8. Same thing. The kid knew. He's like, oh, I think Corbin Carroll. I don't like the way he's swinging the bat or whatever. And this is like a little kid, and I was just very impressed. And that's another thing I love. That's just another thing I love is that, like I said, there aren't very many casuals that go to spring training.
Mm-hmm.
So
and like you're saying, it gets me just so pumped for the season to start. And you know, it does take away some of the question marks that we have, you know, before we entered spring training, especially that you and I have. And you were right, you know, the hitting aspect, you know, some of the things or some of the questions have been answered with Sheets. And
Sheets was added to the 40-man roster today, which doesn't
Manny Machado still can't hit a slider on an 0-2 count.
Has Manny started hitting at all? I think our last podcast we mentioned he was hitting like 111, and I haven't looked at the stats, but
Manny Machado has bigger fish to fry. San Diego FC. Okay, he's out here. We knew that we were going to be ass Sunday because what we see the minute that we leave the ballpark. Manny took all his homies on his private jet over to Snapdragon Stadium for the FC game, which, mind you, I loved. I'm not mad that they were there. But
super cool.
We were at dinner. We're just like, oh, first of all, doubt that these boys are going to be here tomorrow.
Oh, they were having a good time. If you didn't see it, they were having a good time.
Also,
oh my gosh,
if they are here, they're going to be
reels were
over.
Yeah.
And sure enough, Sunday morning's lineup came out. Arise, Merrill, Tatis, Machado, Bogarts, Curtis.
They were all there.
They were all there. Were they there mentally?
Were they in Arizona?
Were they mentally there? No, but they were still there, and I was.
But let's face it, team building is very important.
Team building is,
and this was a very team building bond. And they were so.
It was a love fest. You could just tell by their Instagram
you know what was
stories.
Cool is that it was a love fest towards Manny.
Yeah,
like they are all just so appreciative of him. And who knows what goes on in that clubhouse. When you hear stories that Manny's a total douche and people put up with him because he's Manny, and there's kind of a love-hate thing. But everything was, thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Papi. Papi. Yeah, have the jefe. Yeah. So, my king and all this kind of stuff. So, it was cool. It was cool for that. So even if they had a horrible hungover Sunday spring training game, so what? And the big picture, it probably really paid off. You know what's interesting too is Hayward was there, which was everyone was like,
And Morihon.
Well, Morehome's for sure on the roster.
True. Yeah, Hayward. That's just that's.
But you're right. There weren't very many pitchers.
Veteran respects.
Michael King was there. Dylan Cease was not because he had to pitch the next day. Michael King was there. And Morihone, were those the only two pitchers? Oh, Musgrove.
I mean, Musgrove doesn't count. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, but pretty much the rest of our lineup 1 through 9 are there.
Well, you've been doing really good with these like natural segues.
Me?
This afternoon, so I think we should just kind of segue into the last portion we wanted to talk about today, which is our pitching, especially the announcement of our starting day pitcher and the other not so great announcement with our favorite Japanese sensation.
That's right. Our favorite Japanese sensation. So I kind of called Michael King getting the call to start.
You did?
He had pretty solid spring. Maybe better than Dylan Cease. Maybe that's why he got the call over Dylan Cease. The thing is, like, Dylan Cease is ranked higher than him if you looked at the hierarchies. But just from my visual, I feel like Dylan Cease is so erratic.
I mean, Dylan Cease and Snell fall
very similar guys,
right?
Yeah, and
I think like when Cease is hot, he's untouchable. King might be on a tiny bit lower caliber than Cease, but he's far more consistent.
Yeah. So yeah, King got the nod for that.
I'm happy for him.
Happy for him, well deserved. But I am curious what the conversation was with Dylan Cease with that. And then we find out you who had been rested the last couple days. He was supposed to start one of the days we were in Arizona, I think. And then they pulled him for general fatigue. And you're like, what is this? And then we find out he has elbow inflammation. So a couple thoughts on this, and then you can kind of chime in. So
I feel like we're gonna have very similar thoughts.
Probably. Yeah. So I wonder if this is depending. I mean, I don't want to panic or anything, but I just remember when Yu Darvish signed his extension, he had even said something like, "I was planning to retire in a couple of years, but they made me this offer, and of course I'm going to say yes. It's such an honor, and I would not." He held Peter Seiler in such high regard that I think he would have thought it was insulting if he said no, bro. But I also thought that we admire him so much for his humility, really, and he's the kind of guy that's not going to pitch if he thinks it's done. So I'm wondering if this might be. He might come back from this, but this might be another signal to him that it's time to start winding things down. So I wonder, I'm not saying like he's going to come out right now and say I'm going to retire. I'm wondering if he's going to have a season like this where he pitches a little, takes time off, pitches a little, takes time, which he's been doing for quite a bit. But I'm wondering every year it's less pitching and more time off. And I just wonder, because he had said in his mind that this was, in his mind at one time, this was going to be his last, this is going to be the year he retired. I'm wondering if that's what we're going to start to see. And the thing, yes, he's in a long contract, but if he retires, then we don't pay him, which I don't think he would mind. I mean, that's him,
Yeah.
So.
I think, I was right with my speculation. I'm the exact same boat with you. I think this kind of, you hear elbow inflammation and you can only think,
oh, Tommy John.
The worst, right?
Yeah.
And especially he's had Tommy John in the past.
Twice, I think.
And what you've said, he's been transparent that if he doesn't feel like he's going to be at his peak, then his ego isn't going to stop him from, closing the door.
Right.
And my only thing is that I maybe differ from you is I don't see him being the kind of guy to commit to 1/3 of himself and still having that contract. I think he's either all in or he's out. I don't see that. Well, because if we're saying that, I'm not saying if he is the man of integrity that he is, right? In my eyes, I don't see him finding pitching 90 innings a season is fair for the amount of money that he's making.
But what if the team comes to him and says, 90 innings of good Yu Darvish. We want that. Don't.
Yeah, then that's
We
that's
need
one thing.
you. You know, and I can see that happening too.
The problem is though too, Mom, you already have a veteran pitcher who is out for the season, who is kind of like another pitching coach.
I get that.
There's not.
No, I'm just talking about the 90 innings of pitching,
Yeah.
not the presence he brings or anything. I'm just talking specifically like if you can give us 90 innings and 60 of them are fantastic, we'll take that. You know, because what are our options?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be that they're like, we know you can only give us this much. That's fine.
But then
we want to
does
work
you
with
want that? You
well,
know,
that's
the thing
for sure. But he could be convinced. I mean, if he's told, dude, we really need you, he could be like, you're right, I signed a contract. I'm not going to bail yet. If you feel like you still want this, then I will be there for you. But who knows? We're all like totally speculating on this stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know.
It's par
sense.
for the course.
Yes.
When it comes to pitchers and elbow injuries.
I also think, too, that, you know, there's pitchers already going to. Oh, question before we move on from them. Do 38-year-old pitchers have Tommy John surgery? Have they? That was my question too.
Didn't Verlander?
Well, either Verlander or Scherzer may have, but I don't know if they were that old.
Like Verlander kind of just.
But was it? Yeah, but was it Tommy John too? Yes, you're correct. They've been out for injury, but I'm not sure that they had Tommy John. And you know, Chris Reed brought up.
When did Verlander get his last Tommy John surgery?
I know that Chris Reed brought up a good point too, where the success rate for pitchers over 36 is very, very low.
Okay. I found this on the web for when did Verlander get his last Tommy John surgery.
What does it say?
Check it out.
So loud. Keep talking.
Okay, anyway. So, being a successful pitcher over the age of 36, like, is few and far between. So that's just, you know, a Mother Nature thing. But, you know, the Pods probably want to be able to get what they can out of him this year at least until Musgrove comes back next year, too.
Yeah. That's probably another thing what's kind of keeping, like, we can't be down both of our.
And we're not going to trade. I can't see us trading.
Not at
now.
this point.
I mean,
no.
maybe at the during the season.
Yeah.
But you know, there's pitchers going down. Like I said, there's already
Cole.
Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is. I say Cole Helms. Garrett Cole is out for the season for the Yankees. Right? He's going to have Tommy John. And there was another one too. Someone on the.
I
Like
think
the number 2 on the
sorry,
Red
I think
Sox,
Verlander
too.
was 37.
When you okay, well, okay,
yeah,
well,
but that's
one
in a
guy.
million.
Yeah, that's one guy.
That's because it's Justin Verlander.
True.
He's got to keep Kate Upton happy. I do the same thing.
Oh, see how good for the Giants this year. So,
Well, okay. Yeah, I
Anything
think one freaking week, you guys.
I know, right?
Can you believe it? Are you what are your general thoughts? What are the general vibes?
I can't wait. I am so sick of having nothing to watch on TV. I can't wait.
I can't wait. Honestly, I know this off season was disappointing, and honestly, I've kind of come to terms with the fact it wasn't so much disappointing. Okay, let me stop myself. It was disappointing the accusations or the acquisitions that we received. Right. The Pavetta was a good one. Oh my God, help me higher. Hart was another one too. But what kind of kicked us is what our opponents did this offseason.
For sure.
At the end of the day, though, we just got to worry about number one. And with that, we'll wrap up this podcast because my mom's got to really pee. And
Yes.
we'll see you on opening day, bitches!
We might record one more time before that, I think.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.